So maybe it's that one beach vacation you've been dreaming about, and it's finally that time, or maybe it's hiking through Yosemite or Sequoia, Kings Canyon National Parks. No matter where you're going in the world, it's finally that time, and you get on the plane, and that sick dude next to you decides to give you his flu bug. How nice of him, that wonderful gift. And then next thing you know, you're stuck in your vacation rental, and you're like, who do I turn to? I'm really not feeling good. We have got a solution for that. Arif Razvi is joining us. He is the co-founder of HelloAlvin.com. He's joining us on Big Blend Radio today to talk about how this online service has changed the way people can access quality health care while traveling. And I love this, especially for park travelers, because I know there's so many hiking accidents at times, or, maybe just stubbed a toe, but what to do, or you got the flu from the plane. You never know. I do encourage you to go to the website, HelloAlvin.com. Welcome, Arif. How are you?
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm doing great.
I've got to say, okay, before we go any further, I want to know, Alvin, why did you pick Hello Alvin? Who's Alvin?
It's a great question, and people ask us that a lot. The name Alvin actually means your noble friend loved by all, and it was one of the reasons my co-founder, Joey Triselli, and I chose that name, because it really embodied what we wanted to be as a healthcare services provider to consumers. And we wanted to be their noble friend, and we wanted to be loved by all, and we wanted to help people get better faster and for less money than they're doing today.
Well, I know we won't even get into the whole healthcare discussion, but this is something that everyone should look at. Number one, whether you're traveling or not, check it out, because I think this is, I know what it's like to get sick, and it's that thing, too, like I said at the beginning here, you have these dream vacations. It could even be your honeymoon, and next thing you know, you're sick, and you're in a different place. You don't know who to call. Maybe it's a small town. It's like, okay, is the doctor open on a Sunday? What do you do? And it seems to me that you've really filled that gap, that what do you do? And I've been through those circumstances, and a lot of times it's like, too bad, you're sick.
No, it's you're absolutely right. In fact, prior to founding Hello Alvin with my co-founder, I spent a lot of time on the road. In fact, I'm a million miler on United, so I spent a lot of time in hotels and strange cities, and I can really relate to the fact that when you're not in your hometown, it's often difficult to find out where to go, whether it's the urgent care, or do I find a doctor, or I'm in a hotel, I just don't want to get out of the bed, so I'm just going to stay here for a day and sleep it off. And it's one of the reasons why this service is so convenient for travelers, is because, within a matter of minutes, you can literally be speaking with a doctor on the phone who can diagnose and prescribe medication to the nearby pharmacy for you. And if it's not urgent, if you don't need a live doctor consult, and our live doctor consults are in partnership with Teladoc, which is the largest provider of telehealth physicians, you can use our 24-hour registered nurse line and speak to a nurse at no charge. Or maybe it's not that urgent, and maybe you just want to send a photo to a doctor and figure out whether hiking through that trail you got poison oak or poison ivy. So you can snap a photo, send that picture along, and a doctor will respond back in a matter of hours with a diagnosis via email. So there's a number of ways that travelers can use the service to help themselves or a member of their family, because families are included in both of our annual and our monthly service subscriptions.
Yeah, because this is a subscription, right? And so I know it was looking like it was, $15 a month, so it's something very affordable compared to most health insurance services at this point. So I'm just saying, and this is different than insurance, and I want to make that clarification, because I think a lot of times there's traveler's insurance, medical insurance, there's all these different programs. This is, you don't even have to have insurance to use this, right?
That's absolutely right. In fact, the only requirement is just that you have a credit, debit, or another way to make the payment. And the monthly fee is $20 a month, but and that gets you access to all three of the services I talked about: the 24-hour nurse line, the email, a doctor, and also allows you to have a live video consult with a physician. And that fee is just $15 on our monthly plan. Yep.
Okay, so do you take our information first? Because I can imagine, I'm going hiking, and maybe it's poison ivy, but maybe it's an allergy issue to something that I didn't know I was allergic to. Do you have our medical information first before we start traveling?
Yeah. So when you sign up for the service through Hello Alvin, there's a couple of things that happen. One is as soon as you sign up, you instantly get access to the 24-hour nurse line and the email service. And then you are made eligible to use the teledoc service that happens in a short period. And then once you're eligible for the teledoc service, you just simply put in your medical information. In fact, I walked somebody through it over the weekend, and she said it was incredibly simple. She had just to put in what if she had any allergies and your standard sort of medical profile. But that's saved with Teledoc. That is saved. So you only have to enter it once, and you can enter your dependents and your spouse. And so when you're traveling, it's merely a matter of clicking a button to make a consult request and requesting a doctor. And within 10 minutes, a doctor will either call you back or also can video chat you back if you feel like that's going to be a better way to diagnose what you're feeling.
And here's the thing, too. How many people are traveling around and don't even, it's like how many people really do their regular doctor visits? I'm just being straight up honest. I know there's going to be gazillions of people. I'll do anything not to hang out with the doctor because I don't like the white coat thing. That's just, but so I really like this idea of a video chat or go through email or phone because they freak me out. I get scared, but I do. But how many people even have all their medical records, especially when you travel internationally and things? So is this in a way also like if something happens that if you do end up having to go into like an ER or something like that, that people can actually look at, you can say, hey, here's, talk to the doctor. They can look at the files that you have put in there because maybe a lot of people will start putting in their information through here versus sometimes always going through a doctor if they're not seeing someone all the time.
Well, part of what you're talking about is what's called an electronic medical record, and while that's not the service we provide, as part of your Teledoc experience that we provide, you can store a lot of medical information, and if it's the only way that you're seeing a doctor, so for instance, there's still 30 million uninsured Americans, or even those Americans who maybe like yourself don't see the doctor as often. Maybe the only way you do see the doctor is through, the Teledoc service that we provide, and in which case that would be all stored information. In fact, the individual I've helped this weekend, she was really surprised that amount of information that was provided back to her by the doctor when she wrote the prescription. She also provided links to websites for the CDC about, the viruses and stuff like that. So it's not really a way to store your medical information, but if it's the only way you've been receiving care is through these physicians, then you can have, a list of all the things that have been treated by these physicians at your fingertips.
And this is the other thing, too, because you're able to get a prescription filled through this service, which I think is really, it's amazing because, like I said, you could be, when you think about hiking in certain areas, and there, of course, National Park Service, I always talk about this, 3/4 of it is, or 2/3, I should say, is historic sites, but there's still always a hiking trail or something that you get on an airplane and you can get sick at this point because you're trapped in that little environment. You're out there in the world. And, when something happens and you could be in a town, these smaller communities, sometimes you can get somebody, sometimes you can't. But there's always like a nearby pharmacy somewhere within an hour or so. And at that point, maybe even where you're staying, they can help you. So this is something where they can actually give you a prescription, it goes to the pharmacy, right?
That's right. So, as when you have that live doctor consult, they can absolutely send a prescription to whatever pharmacy is closest to you. And that's very convenient, especially for people who are traveling and maybe they forgot their inhaler, maybe they forgot their asthma medicine, maybe they forgot their child's asthma medicine or inhaler. Those are some of the most common things that people actually use that service for, is because they're traveling and they forgot to pack their prescription, or they're traveling and their prescription ran out and they just need a quick refill. So really think about the cost and convenience of being able to get that prescription or get that refill in literally no time. And oftentimes those consults are it takes, like I said, about 8 to 10 minutes to get the doctor on the phone, and then literally
Wow.
those consults can be done in about 10 minutes. Your prescription is sent automatically to the nearest pharmacy, and that's it. You're done. You're feeling good.
No, what happens if you get a toothache? Because that's happened to me, and that is not cool. Like, because you have your favorite dentist and everything, but what happens if that happens? Like, ow.
Yeah. So teledentistry is obviously, I think, the next emerging market for telemedicine in general. Right now, the biggest barrier to the biggest barrier to dentistry is that it is a very physically involved thing, and the doctor oftentimes has to go in and likely look at the tooth. What you can do, though, is you can actually email a dentist, and you could provide a photo of if there's swelling or redness around the gums or bleeding or something. You could provide a photo, and the doctor could advise you via email on some things you could do in terms of gargling with salt water, or take 2 Advil every 6 hours. They could provide some level of medical care to get you through until that point where you could actually go see a dentist.
Wow. So, and what about families? I mean, to me, this has got to be one of the biggest things for families, getting those, someone on the phone to help you at this point, because how many, trucking a family over to urgent care is not a fun thing to do. And so especially when you're traveling and you don't know who to call, it's like, Nancy and I, here on Big Bud and Ray, we traveled for 3 years nonstop in this country, and going from national park unit to national park unit. And, sometimes like things would happen. You're like, okay, who do we call? And it's like, it starts at 2 a.m. So that's the thing for families at 2 a.m. Are you going to wake the rest of the family up or leave them in a hotel? You know what I mean? If it's not like a huge emergency.
That's right. And you're absolutely right. And I think the biggest fear people have is being, away and not in the comfort of their own home environment and having to deal with a medical situation. And that's a scary thing, right? So especially when it has to do with maybe your children. And so by allowing people 24 hours a day to have access to medical care at a really low cost is, I think, invaluable for a number of reasons. One is obviously the convenience of not having to go anywhere. You can literally make these calls from your home, your office, your, while you're in your RV, or at your hotel. Yeah, and for a really low fee. I mean, there is not a place that I've been to, and I've been to a lot of places where you can find a doctor that's going to highly skilled, qualified, 20 years experienced doctor who's going to call you back in 10 minutes for $15.
Okay, no matter what time in the morning it is? Like it's 2 in the morning is okay?
Time.
Okay, so
absolutely. In fact,
I'm go ahead.
In fact, over the weekend, my friend who I helped was at 4 in the morning, and she had a doctor on the phone within 10 minutes.
That's crazy. You don't get that. I mean, I've been to the ER, and it's like I had a broken arm, and they let me in there for I don't want to talk about how many hours,
Ouch.
And it hurt. No, it was it was actually around this time of year, in the middle of January, and it was cold. It was a swimming pool accident, and next thing you know, I'm in the ER, and they had to do surgery and all this stuff, but I had to just sit there and wait, and they had to cut my clothes off because I was so cold. It was terrible.
Oh my
and it was like,
gosh.
No, you couldn't, and I couldn't talk to anybody to even. There was no communication, and I would have done anything sitting in the ER waiting room to just talk to somebody, just to know what's going on. And I think there's a service with that. You can end up in an ER situation. I remember when they were even wheeling me into surgery, I was so freaked out about anesthesia. Like, they're going to put me under. What happens if I wake up? And I couldn't get the information I wanted. And I would say, this service would be a cool thing, just to be able to talk to a doctor and say, look, what happens when you go under? I want to know
exactly,
what happens.
Exactly.
Well,
you raise a good point too, which is, telehealth doesn't solve every medical problem. So, if you did have a broken arm or, something that required immediate emergency care,
right.
That's not what we're for, right? We're for that
right.
acute minor illness that creeps up, like you said, from traveling or just, feeling run down or having the flu or cough or cold or sinus infection, things like that. But you're right. There's a distinction between what we can provide help for and what an emergency room can provide help for. But to your point, you can get a lot of answers without having to Google symptoms at no charge just by sending an email off to a nurse or, to a doctor or calling a nurse real quick and asking some questions.
I think it's really invaluable because sometimes on the internet we create problems that we don't even have. You know, it's like, oh, I've got this. Now I'm dying from this. You know what I mean? You look at things and you're like,
That's right.
I don't know. And you should get it checked out. And I think this is such an invaluable thing, especially when you brought up RV travelers. And I know a lot of people retire and they get in the RV. And I know I have a lot of friends. It's part of that tiny house movement, RV. Hey, we're going to live around the world. We're in that world now where you don't really have a family doctor anymore. You're on the road. Why not? And there's just this huge community of people doing it. They're traveling, they're writing blogs, and, you know, off they go. So how do they even keep up with, you know, the family doctor and getting prescriptions? Like, I know blood pressure is a big deal. If someone doesn't have their blood pressure medicine, that's a big deal. They can hurt. It's not fun. So I think that's another
right.
part, right? Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And you're right. You know, listen, people want to live the lifestyle that they want to live, right? And they shouldn't be burdened by the fact that, you know, access to a doctor is hard. And so we're trying to make that easy. And it's not just RV travelers. It's people who live in even rural communities that don't have immediate access to care because it's so far to get to that doctor or to get to that urgent care. And even in big cities, I happen to live in New York City, but in other big cities, parents who have to take hours out of their day, out of work, or take the kids out of school to go see a doctor at times that are only convenient for the doctor. Here's a way that now you can consider when it's convenient for you and not when it's convenient for the doctor.
Right, exactly. And we're in that world. I think this is so interesting how the internet has changed. Our magazines, and we started off in print in South Africa and came over here and continued on this journey. And as soon as we saw the internet happen, we're like, this is so huge. And then, of course, there was the bursts and the bubbles and all that good stuff. And then it came back. And I know you've been in this industry for a long time. What was it that said you know what, I'm going to move into the telehealth side of it and use the internet and this power? What was that spark of creating, you know, Hello Alvin?
Well, I firstly, it's a great question. Firstly, I grew up in a family of doctors. My dad was a cardiologist, and he actually opened one of the first urgent care centers in our immediate surroundings out in Massachusetts, where I grew up. And you're right. I grew up in technology, and after I left my last job, I was looking for something to do that would have a little bit more meaning in my life. And it just so happened I ran into my old friend Joey Trisselli, and he told me what he was thinking about doing and had started, and I said, I love this. This is great. This is awesome for people. And it sort of provides a little homage to my dad, who passed away about 6 years ago. And it's like I can now do something in healthcare, I think just like my dad would have always wanted me to do.
Nice. So it's like you're the connector, you know, between the person that needs the help and putting them with the nurse and the doctor that they need. So everybody, go to helloalvin.com before you go. What happens when you subscribe? You want to give everybody the complete rundown of what they get for a subscription and what exactly happens once you log in.
Yeah, sure. So real quick on the monthly subscription, it's $20 per month, and it covers the entire immediate family. It provides access to a 24-hour registered nurse line that is bilingual. We have an email service that allows you to email doctors, nurses, dentists, pharmacists, ask your questions, send your photos, and you'll get a real response from a real doctor. And then finally, if you actually need a live doctor consult, for $15, you can have a live consult with a board-certified U.S. doctor. There's over 3,000 doctors in the Telehealth Physicians Network, and they're available to you within 10 minutes. Our annual plan includes the exact same things. It's $100, but the doctor visits are $45. So it's really geared toward individuals who maybe don't see the doctor very often or don't need the doctor very often, whereas the monthly plan with the lower doctor visit fee is really geared toward families who may see the doctor 3 or 4 or 5 times per year. And both plans include all 3 services, and they are available 24/7. It's easy to sign up. All you need to do is put in some basic information like you would when you're buying anything, your name, your address, gender, birthday, pay the annual or monthly fee, and you're good to go. Click submit, and you'll get some emails from us and give you more instructions.
Are they going to make me stand on a scale? Sign up.
That's
I have
a great
to be honest
news,
about my weight.
They won't make you stay on a scale. They won't make you stand on a scale.
I just got to ask. Okay, and lastly, because I know we're talking about travel, and I know a lot of our listeners are definitely in the States, but we have an international audience too, especially for our national parks and, people coming over to Yosemite and things like that, and, all of these magical places we have. So for people coming into America, can they use this if they're from a different country?
Absolutely. Anybody in America, in the United States, can use this product, whether you're coming in from overseas, documented, undocumented, and obviously U.S. residents. Anybody can use it. We don't ask for Social Security numbers or anything like that. All you have to do is put in some basic information, have the ability to pay the small fee, and you're good to go. So it's great for people that are coming into this country that don't want to spend a lot of dollars at an urgent care. Anybody can use the product, and that's one of the great things about this.
Now, what happens if we cross the border? Because we like to do that. We like to cross over, just to say we went over to another place. Or, I know especially we can go to Canada and Mexico very easy from here, but there's the Virgin Islands. And, what happens when we step out of the zone? Can we use this in some way? I know that maybe the pharmacy thing might be a little different because I know some of the pharmacies in Mexico. I don't know. I don't know if they could get the emails from doctors.
Yeah, it's a good question because we do have obviously customers that travel internationally, and one of the things that we found is that obviously you can't use the teledoc service because those are all U.S.-based doctors, and they can't. They're licensed by state, and so they're not licensed under federal guidelines to provide care outside of the boundaries of their license. So that's number one. The nurse line, it is an 800 number, so they could give you advice over the phone, but it is an 800 number, and you incur those international calling rates. The best way, and the way we found people actually get care when they're traveling overseas, is use the email service, because a lot of that is just advice, and they can tell you what you might want to do. And like you said, in Mexico, you can get prescriptions a lot easier. So they could tell you, hey, it looks like you might need some antibiotic, or here's what I would do if you have a stomach virus. That you can get that advice pretty easily through email.
It's like, hey, I went to China and I ate a scorpion, and now I don't feel good. Help. Well, it can happen. It can happen.
I've been to China. I know.
Did you eat the scorpion?
I did not eat the scorpion, so I did not have to use the service.
Oh, wow. Okay, so what is the last park that you've been to, whether it's a national park, a state park, county park, or a historic site? What was the last place that you've been to?
Well, I have to admit, I was just in Central Park today, so that was the last park that I've been in.
That is awesome. Central Park, I love that because it's an urban park and we need more of those in the world. The more we can have, the better. Everybody's quality of life will be heightened from that. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Arif. Everybody, again, HelloAlvin.com is the place to go and check it out. I think, all I know is when you go hiking, poison ivy, you were talking about that. I know all about it. It happens. I don't care. It's going to happen. So I would do this just for poison ivy and poison oak, So thank you so much for joining us.
And thank you for having me, and hope everybody stays healthy.
Absolutely. You take care.